Wash that taste out with Knives Out.
Welcome to Groovy Movies. My name's Lily Austin.
And my name's James Brailsford. Hello.
Hello. And this week on the podcast, there's a sequel we're desperate to discuss. No, we're not talking about Zootopia 2 or Wicked for Good. Wake Up Dead Man, the third in Rian Johnson's Knives Out series, is currently in cinemas, so we'll be talking about that.
And later on, we'll also be looking at the looming contract negotiations in Hollywood. Can you believe it? It's those contracts that caused the strikes and the walkouts a couple of years ago. It's time for those to be renegotiated again. So we'll just be kind of having a little think about what's going to happen with those.
Yeah, I cannot believe that's already come around again. But first, let's do some film news. We've had a couple of weeks to catch up on all the happenings in Hollywood. James, what's been going down?
Well, there's some good news as far as like box office results. Zootopia 2 takes the number one spot. Released last Wednesday and it's made 233 million already. And that's before you take in the weekend numbers. So it's projected to hit about 550 million, they reckon, by the end of Sunday, against a 150 million budget. So that's a good news story for the box office.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The fact that, I mean, it probably won't hit that, but some people are speculating that it might even surpass Avengers Endgame, which currently has the highest grossing extended weekend in cinema history because it made 650 million on its opening weekend. But you have to remember that was in 2019. So this was before COVID, before everything kind of crashed and the box office tanked, and now has been in like a very slow, I mean, hopefully recovery, but it's not even really done much of that. So this is like very good news for the box office. Good news for Hollywood.
It is good news. I mean, I'm uncertain whether it will surpass Endgame. And of course, the thing is, the numbers look good compared to Endgame anyway. They look close, but then there's a lot of inflation going on. Ticket prices since 2019 are a lot higher now. So it doesn't equate to the same amount of people going to the cinema, I guess, compared to Avengers Endgame in 2019.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, it's you know, they're making money for the box office, so that's you know, and for theaters. So I think that's okay. Come on, James. Let's be positive about this. I mean, it's kind of extraordinary. Such a runaway hit in like every market across the world, which is kind of amazing.
Absolutely, but of course, you know, my usual proviso. This is a Disney product, so they've had a couple of like good ones. They've had Lilo and Stitch. They've had Zootopia 2, but you know, everything else has been a massive flop. So I'm glad that they're making money.
I know. That's what I wanted to ask you. I was like, okay, finally there's something to rescue Disney. Are you happy, or are you wishing it would just crash and burn, James?
I don't know. It's like, 'cause I don't want it to crash and burn, but also it's definitely crashing and burning, and there's not, you know, nothing. I'm not making it crash and burn, so I'm kind of like, I don't
but
want it to crash
apparently
and burn.
Not. Zootopia has come to the rescue.
But as well, like the other thing is, it's another sequel. It's another. They can't. It's one of these things where they kind of like. It's like the cartoon characters who run off the edge of the cliff, and they're still running for a while, and they don't realize they've run off the edge of the cliff, and then when they notice, that's when they plummet. And I feel like with these sequels that do well, they're just kind of running off the edge of the cliff, and at some point, you can't just keep remaking it. We know we've got Toy Story. What is it, 5 or 6 to look forward to sometime?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's true, but I also think we can't pretend that sequels and established IP doesn't do well. Zootopia 2 is case in point. It does do well. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. This one probably won't be covered by us in the review segment, but I suspect it has a good story. But I think the main thing, obviously, is the fact that people like the first one. Parents are desperate to have films to take their children to. There aren't that many. We've talked about this before. There's not that many children's films in the cinema, which is where we make money. It's kind of crazy how few there have been recently. So of course they're like hungry for this new thing that they can take the whole family to. And so like, yeah, I agree that they need to start making new movies. People, I think, want that, but people also just like what they know. And it's for us as film fans who like something original, that's depressing, but it is also just true.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, of course, talking of sequels, we've got the Wicked for Good, also doing very well. Which I mean, again, has no appeal to. I saw the stage show and I enjoyed that, but I just don't really fancy seeing the film version. That doesn't appeal really. What about yourself, Lily? Have you seen the first one at the cinema?
No, yeah, also for me, I never saw the stage musical, but I sort of have heard bits of that main song,
Mm-hmm.
Defying Gravity, I
Defy
think.
Gravity, yeah.
Yeah, that's got to me through the ether. And I really don't like it. I'm not I'm I love some musicals, but hate most of them. And this,
Mm.
unfortunately, I think falls into that category. Like, from what the music just doesn't speak to me. So I never had any interest. And also, when I saw the trailer for the first film, even though apparently it was all done, there's not much CGI. Most of those
It looks
sets were
very
built.
plastic.
It looks so, yeah, the aesthetic just really
I
put me off. It's not my thing.
Same, same. That really put me off as well. And yeah, I have seen lots of stuff where they built lots of things for real, but it does have the feeling of, and this is quite common these days, is that they might build sets and they might have practical things, but then they just replace them with CGI later anyway because of, I don't know, reasons. And I just think that's when I saw The Wicked. Everything just has this like plastic look, you know. But I was reading an interesting opinion piece. Perhaps Wicked is going to replace The Wizard of Oz as far as the pop cultural relevance of the
Mm,
Oz story, you know, and that's
yeah.
quite a sobering thought.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of extraordinary. See, it's not about
Yeah.
original IP, it's about building over the original IP.
Just
But
like, yeah, just we've just buried it. We've buried the original IP in the wall. Do not knock through into that wall. We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, it's funny enough.
yeah, but yeah, another hit. So yeah, sorry guys. I do actually feel a bit bad that these are two major movies. There've been so few sort of tentpole movies, as they're
Mm,
called, this year. And there are two now that are battling it out for top spot and actually making really great money this past Thanksgiving weekend. And we're not really going to be covering them, though I guess we're doing it
nah.
right now. But having said that, my husband does really want to see, he likes a musical and he wants to see Wicked for Good. And I sort of feel bad that I always drag him to see whatever film we're
Right.
covering each week. So I think I might actually go see him. So maybe I'll give you a
Okay,
brief
give us
review
give us
before the end of
excellent,
the
excellent.
series.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question: which did you enjoy more, Salo or Wicked for Good?
Okay, well, that's a lovely segue into our more local, more parochial news story, which is I finally went to see Salo, as I'm told it is called, Salo,
Ah,
or 120 Days of Sodom. I believe when we talked about it before, I called it 100 Days of Sodom. Sorry, there were another 20. Let's get
you
the
got you
exact
do.
number correct.
God, that's definitely what you want, isn't it? You want another 20 days of that business. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
God.
So come on then, Lily, talk me through it. But the takeaway I got from our brief pre-communications is essentially the world is so bad that Salo doesn't really hit as hard as it might have once done.
Yes, well, a few things. Obviously, if someone tells you this is the most horrific film ever made, do not go see it, do not go see it. Your expectations are sky high, but in a way where it's like, I don't even know I can't imagine how bad it's going to be, but it's going to be
Mm.
awful. So then, of course, I think because of that, I was expecting bad, and it was bad. That's not, I'm not trying to say I was like happy as a clam watching it. Like, I looked away for probably like a good 20% of the movie, if not longer. But I think because I've been prepped so much, I wasn't really like shocked. I was more like, here it comes. Yep. Okay, that makes sense. That follows what James warned me about. Um, but it was a really interesting screening because, as we discussed a few weeks ago, there's a new
Mm.
cinema near Farringdon called the Nickel, which just shows horror movies and particularly kind of indie niche or like ones that have been banned. It's a proper like grindhouse cinema. You'll have to come like next time you're in London,
Oh, I
James.
would
We'll
love to.
go
Yeah, I
because
really want to.
it feels like you've gone back in time. It feels very 80s, very 90s because you walk in and at the front they have like DVDs and tapes and action figures and comics, all this
Great.
merch feels very retro. And then there's like a curtain, and then on the other side of the curtain is the cinema, and you have to go. The bar is in the basement, and you have to walk down the stairs right in front of the screen to get to the bar. So it feels quite sort of makeshift, but in like a nice way. So I really enjoyed that. It was just a nice experience being there. But also the fun thing about this screening was one of the, I think it's called Your Excellency, because you know the four protagonists, I guess, of the film who are doing the torture. They all have different names, like Your Highness or whatever.
I'd forgotten. But
Well,
yeah.
one of them was not an actor, but he was a friend of Pasolini's from kind of growing up. And he got in touch with him, they hadn't spoken in a while, and said, "I'm making this movie. Would you like to come and be a part of it?" Because he really liked working with non-professional actors. So anyway, his son is British and introduced the film and then did a Q&A at the end, kind of based on really his dad's book. His dad wrote a book about the experience of working on that film. And that's actually what informed this guy's knowledge about it, really, because his dad died when he was 19 and they didn't really talk about Salo that much because, like, quite rightly, he hadn't really, I don't think he'd seen it up until that point. So so to be honest, when I was watching the film, because it was so gross, many times I was like looking away, which is actually quite boring, right? It's like I'm not looking at anything. So it kind of made me want to leave because I'm like, I'm a bit bored because I don't want to see this. And also there's something very dull after a while about sexual assault. That sounds bad, but like when you're seeing the repeated, horrible things going on, it's relentless in a way that just becomes a bit boring because it's like I've seen it once now. The plot isn't going anywhere else. We're just seeing the same old thing.
That's the whole point of it, isn't it? It's meant to numb you out.
Is that what it's meant to do? Well, whatever it did, it just bored me. So I was like, I did kind of want to leave, but then I really wanted to hear the Q&A. I wanted to hear about, what this film was about and what the experience of making it was. So we did stay till the end, and it was worth it because it was really interesting to hear what he had to say about that.
Did you ask a question, Lily? Did you have a question?
I asked a couple of questions. What did I ask? I asked if the guy, sorry, I don't remember his name, but I asked if the guy's father got any sense of or heard from Pasolini like why he wanted to make the film. And I mean, he kind of gave a sort of broader answer that, at the time it was the 70s, there were a lot of people making these kind of extreme films and wanting to push the envelope. And it's a film that's sort of anti-fascist, right? The people doing the torture are fascists. This is set. The reason it's called Salo is because Salo was the place that Mussolini escaped to when he was like knocked from power. And from Salo, he was trying to regain power. Hitler was telling him, don't give up, we need you to like, basically take power again. And so it's sort of like, Mecca or something for these people. Like we're gonna end up in Salo, and there's a character who says, are you gonna take me to Salo? So it's kind of, that element of it is kind of interesting, the tie-in with fascism. But then the really interesting thing, right, is that Pasolini died before the film came out. He was murdered.
Wasn't he murdered? Yeah.
He was murdered, and there are mixed reports about what happened. A man was put in prison for running him over with his car, and the man at the time said that he was paying me to do certain sexual acts, and then he assaulted me, and so I killed him out of like self-defense. The story has now changed quite a lot since then. He has a different version of events, but having that in mind when you're watching this film called 120 Days of Sodom is like kind of wild. So all of these elements, that was actually the other question I asked, like if that having that knowledge of what happened to him like changes how he views the film, and he's like, well, yes, it kind of has to, like you have it in mind. So interesting film, James, interesting film. I'm glad I've seen it in sort of as someone who like is interested in film, it's like interesting.
Yeah.
And the film itself is like beautiful. That's part of the weirdness about it, right? It's beautifully staged.
Yeah, because as much as I've gone about how this is the worst film ever, it's very much with the proviso. It's not like in a slasher movie or a cannibal holocaust, like it's horrific gore. Not that. To me, it was like more just psychologically brutal, like, to have to sit through watching all this torture and abuse, and it's just unrelentingly grim. I think that's what it was for me. And you're right, but it is made by a real filmmaker. It's not like a B movie grindhouse director who's just trying to make something exploitational. It's a director who's trying to make something, like you say, about fascism, about consumerism culture.
And he was very it's so stylized, it's in this grand mansion, which is like every scene is beautifully staged. It's like perfectly symmetrical, which
Yeah,
only adds to like the creepiness, right? They're all in beautiful clothes, and
yeah.
all these young people, like beautifully positioned on the floor, like some kind of, I don't know, Roman sculpture or something.
Yeah.
So and that's the crazy thing. Like my husband was telling me, like Pasolini was like at the height of his powers, a very well respected, very kind of mainstream, but also like but a real intellectual. That he would be invited all the time on the TV to talk about sort of intellectual topics and stuff. So he got all this funding to make this film, and then made this horrific film that was immediately banned. And
I mean, like, just whilst whilst the details of every scene are kind of lost to the mists of my memory, there's certain bits that kind of stand out. But I just remember the very last shot where just like they're going for broke, everybody's torturing everybody. Is like, wow, what a crescendo! The end. It's just,
I know, it's crazy.
it's just the end.
So yeah. But you're right. I mean, just to like circle back to what you said at the beginning, that was the thing that when I was watching, I was like, this is really unpleasant. But honest to God, we now are aware of so many horrific cases of abuse. Terrible things do happen, and so it was almost like me watching actors pretend to do. I mean, it is disturbing. The thing that disturbs me is the fact that these clearly very young people and who aren't professional actors were like made to go through this filming experience.
Yeah.
I don't think
on set
could...
mental health was really like a thing back in the 70s.
Exactly. So yeah, so that aspect of it is disturbing, I have to say. But the sort of the story and everything just felt like so sort of silly compared to like the grim reality of the world,
Well, and on completely the opposite end of news, just to wrap things up.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's move into a nicer topic, one that like we can feel much more soothed by, a balm.
Let's just move things on to a topic that's not going to make us feel existentially kind of strange about the universe, which is it's now been confirmed that there will be a 6-minute prologue of Christopher Nolan's latest film, The Odyssey, ahead of the re-releases of One Battle After Another and Sinners in 70mm. So this is something that Nolan's done since 2008, The Dark Knight, since he started shooting on the IMAX format, is that for any films that are released on an IMAX film print around the right time, he will put a 6-minute like prologue purely on the IMAX film print to reward people who go to see the IMAX print, not just the regular digital version.
No, I really want to go now because of that. But I've seen both these movies.
Have you seen Sinners in IMAX, in 70mm IMAX?
That's true. I haven't, and it is a great film. All right, why not? Okay, so do we know what's in the prologue?
Yeah, apparently there's a voiceover sequence. The voiceover saying words to the effect of, "Have you heard the story about the horse?" And then it cuts to the Trojan horse being pulled by all the kind of the men, the soldiers along a beach, and then it cuts to the sacking of Troy and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of action and spectacle. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you could argue that these IMAX releases are a bit of a Trojan horse with the reveal of this prologue at the start, though. I mean, it's not going to kill anyone, hopefully, but
no, but yeah, I mean, when I lived in London, I would go to the films that had been rumored to have the 6-minute teaser with that particular year's release. So I went to do that for Tenet. I went to see what was it, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, a goddamn awful film, but I just went to see it just so that I could see the Tenet 6-minute teaser. So yeah,
and it was good. It was like worth.
Oh, it was great.
Seeing.
I sat there just. It was completely. That was worth the cost of the ticket. The Rise of Skywalker, the actual film, was not worth the price of the ticket whatsoever. It was shockingly bad. Yeah, but the 6-minute teaser for Tenet, absolutely great.
Amazing. Okay, I cannot wait for the Odyssey. It's going to be amazing.
And you know the drill this time round as far as getting tickets, right? You know we.
Well, I'm stressed because like some tickets were released, right, and we missed them. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah,
already feeling the pressure. It's worse than Glastonbury.
I mean, I do think that there was a strategic reason for doing that because Nolan's very strategic with all the things he does, and I think
Mm.
because obviously that wasn't for all the screenings; it was like for the first 4 screenings, I think, at all
Okay.
of the IMAX venues that could screen the film print. But what I think he's doing there is doing that to show how much interest there is in 70mm screening specifically, because already IMAX have committed to reinstalling 3 70mm film projectors in America, which is like that's the first time ever that they've actually reversed that because they've just been going from like hundreds to now we're down to 30 to we're going up to 33. So I think by doing that pre-sale a year in advance, I think that's a way of saying to IMAX, look, there's obviously money to be made by these film projector versions of the Odyssey. So I think that's what he's doing there. He's trying to strong arm IMAX into reinstalling some of those projectors.
Okay, cool. Well, good for him. We love it. We love
Yeah,
Nolan. That's a nice
absolutely.
director who takes care of everyone.
He's yeah. Yeah, I don't think he'll be remaking Salo as his next film, that's for sure.
God, please no. I hope not. All right, moving along. Let's talk about Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery.
This murder was dressed as a miracle. But what happened that night is a much, much larger scheme.
Which I have to say, this
Mm,
title has really like thrown me. I just cannot remember
yeah.
it.
It is, isn't it? It's like, I know there's something to do with Dead Man, so I'm just like,
Yeah,
Knives Up,
yeah.
Dead Man,
Yeah,
Knives Out.
yeah, yeah. Every time when I went to buy the ticket, I was like, Dead Man. And in the end, I was just
Mm,
like, Knives Out 3. Knives Out 3. Um,
nothing
uh,
wrong with the number. I know it's a bit uncool these days. They don't want you to realise that you've missed the first 2, but Jesus Christ, come on.
no, I actually, I like the whole colon and Knives Out mystery thing, to be honest, because I like that it's, it's very Agatha Christie-esque. So I don't have a problem
Okay.
with that. But I think Glass Onion, I mean, it sounds silly, but that fits with these
Mm.
movies, I think. That's fine. But Wake Up Dead Man, it's just, I don't know, too much. Anyway, it may have passed you by somewhat because, given how much Wicked has dominated like social media over the last few weeks with all the various the marketing campaign has been intense. I know a lot of people haven't really been aware that Knives Out, not only is it that returning to Netflix in a few weeks, but ahead of that we have this classic thing, this short 2 week release window in cinemas, which I'm from here on in I'm calling a stealth release because Netflix just sneak it out onto the screen and they don't really want they don't really care if you go or not.
No, absolutely. So it's a very cynical to make it, but it'll be 2 reasons. One, to get it so that it can be count towards the Oscars because
Mm.
it'll tick the box. It's had like I don't know what the qualifying period is, but it's got to have like a maybe 2 week release in a major city or something like that. Then so that's the reason they're doing it. But yeah, you're right, Lily, though they don't spend any money marketing it or trying to they don't do a press tour. It's not like for a theatrical release where they have to go around the world. They have the premieres. It's like it just because like kind of like embarrassedly put into theaters. I mean, they did that with Glass Onion as well. And did you go see Glass Onion at the cinema?
No,
The
I
second one.
watched it. I watched it at home over Christmas.
So I saw the Glass Onion at the cinema, and all the way through it, a little bit like this. I was just a bit annoyed all the way through because it's clear that the natural home for these series of films is in the cinema. It's very much like kind of you sit down with a full theater full of strangers. You all have a bit of a laugh. You have some twists and turns. It's made to be enjoyed at the cinema. And I just remember thinking, Jesus Christ! And yet it's having this like really just Netflix don't care. It's in theaters for 2 weeks. It's come and it's gone and it really felt like that's not how it should be. The first one before they had the Netflix deal, that had a proper cinema release. It was pushed into the cinema, and I was looking forward to the sequel. But then Netflix got involved. They paid nearly 500 million for the rights to make 2 films. I mean, Netflix aren't going to see any money off that because Netflix don't worry about making a profit. I mean, 500 million for 2
Yeah,
films
yeah,
that.
let's sort of talk about that, because I think that is what's interesting about the Knives Out series, is this journey it's been on. But yeah, I will just say on that topic of Netflix, I thought it was very telling that when I was because we get, some invitations from various distributors for screenings and things. When we were invited to see Frankenstein at a press screening ahead of its cinema release, it was like the week before it was coming out in cinemas, and again, it was just going to be for 2 weeks, and then another week after that, it was going to come out on Netflix itself, on the platform. And when the date of the screening was confirmed, in the email, the PR said, please bear in mind the date of its release on Netflix. Please hold off any reviews until then. And I thought, so what? You're saying that you don't care that it's in cinemas for 2 weeks. You'd only want us to start talking about this film after that, once it's on Netflix. That
Yeah.
told me everything I needed to know. I was like, why are you even bothering them? Well, we know why, because Frankenstein, in
Yeah.
particular, they really hope will get some awards nominations. But it's very depressing to me. I'm like, at least,
Yeah.
come on. You've gone to the trouble of putting it out in these theaters. That took some work. Make the most of that. And it's
Yeah.
not going to hurt that it's 2 weeks early. People who missed it in the cinema will, if they want to see it, watch on Netflix very easily. Come on. But
Mm.
let's talk about Knives Out, because what's interesting is that I saw Knives Out, the first one, during COVID. In my mind, it was always a Netflix thing, and it always came out on, because the first time I saw it, I think it was probably
It was on
Netflix at some
Netflix.
point got it and put it out on
Mm.
there during
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
2020, and so that was the first time I watched it and loved it, really enjoyed it. And then with that in mind, the following year caught it when the next one came out at Christmas. But no, that's not the case, right? It was originally Ryan Johnson, the director, and a producer, Ram Bergman. They got the funding together from a distributor called MRC, and then it was distributed by Lionsgate and was kind of a surprise hit. They only had a $40 million budget, but it grossed $313
Yeah.
million, which is
And
pretty
again, I
good.
went to see that in the cinema because I am a fan of some of Ryan Johnson's filmmaking. I love Brick, his debut. Was a bit bored with Looper. But goddamn, I hated what he did with The Last Jedi, though. I really thought he did it's one
I
of
liked it.
the Last Jedi is considered divisive between fans. A lot of people love what he did. A lot of people don't love what he did. I did not love what he did, but I just
We're going to have to come back to that on our long trailed Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we will
absolutely.
get to, because I'm curious to hear about this. But
Yeah.
do go on.
So the thing is, I was looking forward to seeing what he was going to do after Star Wars, because I just thought I want him to get back to what he does best, which is doing these kind of noirish films with a bit of a twist on them, which is Knives Out is the most populist form of that, because Brick is a very impenetrable version of a film noir. Anyway, so I went to see Knives Out and I was like, oh, thank God, this is what he does best. This kind of wrong-footing the audience, twisty-turny stuff works really well in a murder mystery format. Doesn't work so well in Star Wars. But anyway, so I wanted to see his next film, because Last Jedi left an incredibly bad taste in my mouth. So I wanted to kind of wash that taste out with Knives Out, which it did. It kind of got me back to say, yeah, he is a good director when he's got when he's doing what he's good at. I don't, even though he was a massive Star Wars fan, he just fucked that right up.
Totally. And Knives Out, it really, I think, was a pretty perfect movie, because it was sort of an Agatha Christie-esque comedic murder mystery starring Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, which was a real it was an excellent move, because it really sprung him out of the kind of James Bond
Yeah.
pigeonhole that he was in, and showed that he could be funny. He couldn't do a questionable accent, but he just, it really showed a different side to him that I think everyone
Just
really
just like Roger
enjoyed.
Moore doing North Sea Hijack. Here we've got Daniel Craig doing Knives Out.
I
to
think
show a
that
bit
is
of
such an
range.
injustice to Daniel Craig, but um, yeah. So if you want to hear more about that, please listen to last week's episode.
Mhm.
But then on top of that, it had like many, many layers, right? Because it was also, whilst being a funny whodunit, it was also an examination of class warfare, immigration, like race
Mhm.
relations in the US. And it did it in this really pleasing way with this amazing kind of ensemble cast, which is also really fun, seeing all these different
Yeah,
actors working
it's one
together.
of those things which you don't see as often anymore, which is like these stacked casts, like an ensemble cast.
Yeah, so it had everything going for it. So then what happened, James, after that success?
Well, I mean, I think Lionsgate, the original distributor of the first one, had a sequel lined up, but then Netflix swooped in 2021 and bought the rights to two sequels, outbidding Amazon and Apple at some kind of auction event. And yeah, for $469 million. So they bought the rights to make the two sequels.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, right, was like I read that Netflix initially announced once they'd signed the deal that they were going to do like a special kind of 45-day theatrical run for Glass Onion
Right.
before it going on the platform. But then when it actually was released in 2022, it was just a 1 week limited release called a sneak preview in just like a
Yeah.
very few cinemas. So it's honestly, it seemed to me like I'm not sure, but I've read for both Glass Onion and now Wake Up Dead Man, Ryan Johnson has given interviews where he's encouraged people to go and see the film in the cinemas. He's mentioned being sad that it's not out for longer, but he's so grateful to Netflix that they've taken the trouble to put it out in cinemas. And I suspect that once Netflix bought the property, he was like, please, 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 can it still go out in cinemas? And they were like, yeah, sure. But then when it actually came to it, they're like, actually, no, it's just not useful to us. So it just makes me wonder because, yeah, after such an amazing success with the first film, 312 million, so much money could have been made for theatres.
Oh yeah, no, it's complete. It's classic Netflix. Just don't care about theaters. I mean, because
Yeah.
like from that $469 million, I'm assuming that included the budget to make the films and Ryan Johnson's fee. So I'm assuming out of $500 million, Ryan Johnson probably has done financially very well out of that deal, possibly more so than a theatrical release. But still, it doesn't help out theaters. The whole point of the ecosystem, it's not just Netflix's business, or sorry, it didn't used to be. Yeah, it's a shame because everything about Knives Out is a theatrical experience. The way it's shot, the stacked cast. It's meant to be like I went to see Glass Onion. Like you say, it was like a bit of a mission to find a cinema that was screening it. Because it was. I didn't realize it was only a week. I thought it was 2, but yeah, but a very short window. And it was a packed screening actually, and everybody really enjoyed it. And I thought, yeah, because this is the kind of thing it's meant to be, and it just annoyed me that that's been taken away from it. And I'm sure that wasn't Ryan Johnson's vision for this franchise, I don't think at all.
I mean, yeah, he obviously was like, wow, this thing is lucrative. Give me that payday. Why not? But I do wonder if is there any part of him that regrets that decision, because
I reckon.
it is such a shame that you.
Mm.
I mean, even with this, like we'll now talk about Wake Up Dead Man, but yeah, it's the same thing this time round, right? Like it's not showing in many cinemas. Apparently, in the US, none of the big theater chains are showing it.
Yeah. I had to see it in our like art house cinema, the home cinema. I think that was the only place showing it.
Yeah, same. I saw it at an indie as well. And the screening was packed. And usually, when I went to see One Battle After Another at that same cinema, it was far from packed, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
But with this, middle of a Saturday, there was only like 2 seats left for us. It was full.
Yeah, it was packed.
So
It was packed at
people,
my screening as well. Yeah.
when people know about it, they want to see it. But so let's talk about this movie. Should we start with a sort of quick plot summary? I mean, it's kind of along the same lines as the last two, if you've seen them. But
Yeah. I mean, could you help me out with the plot summary there, Lily?
yes, okay. So this time we're in like Christian, I think Catholic territory. I did clock that the church looked to me like a very English church, and then I read that it was filmed in the UK, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I was watching it thinking that's a UK church. I remember thinking absolutely, and then afterwards it made perfect sense.
Yeah, but anyway, Josh O'Connor plays a man of the cloth, and he basically is the one who's kind of leading the story, talking about a murder that has gone down in the church that he is sent to be a part of. And there's like a small group of the congregation who are very devoted, who are blaming him, but it could be any one of them. And then so Benoit Blanc comes to help try and solve the mystery.
Yeah,
I got through it in
absolutely,
the end.
yes.
My God, that was tough.
Woo! That was, I mean, that's it. Trying to explain murder mystery plots is always a bit
Well,
of a bit
Well,
elaborate.
yes, because also we don't want to. Obviously, that's part of the joy, right? You don't really
Mm.
want to know too much. But it's as always, it's a good cast. We've got Andrew Scott in there, Glenn Close, Mila
Although
Kunis,
I have to
Kerry
say, I
Washington.
didn't feel it was quite as starry as the previous ones. I felt, maybe.
I thought, I mean, Glenn Close, yeah, was the real like calling card, I'd say.
And Josh Brolin, I think they're two
Yes,
pretty big stars.
absolutely, and Kerry Washington.
And nice to see Jeremy Renner back on the big
That's
screen.
I didn't know he'd gone. Honestly, where's he been?
Oh well, he'd had a really really bad accident where he
Oh God.
unfortunately was in. I think he was trying to park his own car, and he basically got run over by his own car. And he was like seriously ill, and so he's been recovering for I think a year, a couple of years now. It's been so bad, and so I think that's why he plays a drunk character in the film, is because I think he's still genuinely still recovering. So they made that part of the character. So yeah, I think it's his first role since he's recovered from his injury.
Okay, well that's terrible, and I'm happy to see him back. That's good, but okay, what did you think of Wake Up Dead Man?
Yeah, it started off all right, and then I just like the last third. I just kind of, yeah, I was engaged for the first half, and it just kind of lost me. I don't really have a great deal to say as far as like I don't know, felt a little convoluted. I don't know. What did you think, Lily?
I was really disappointed actually. I'm a bit confused because I've read so many rave reviews about the film, which is great. Good for like I'm happy that
Yeah,
people enjoyed it, but I found it quite a bit of a shift from the last two, because I know people are quite rude about The Glass Onion, but I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I had
I
a great
enjoyed
time
it.
with
Yeah,
another starry cast. I enjoyed the lampooning of the tech bro, group.
yeah. I enjoyed Glass Onion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whereas this handling of like Christianity and faith and these sorts of things, it felt pretty depressing to me. It was like a grimmer
yeah.
tone. And I want fun, I want silliness with this series.
Yeah, and I think visually as well, being set in this kind of quite dark, dingy church, whereas Glass Onion was set on this nice sunny island, so it had the feeling of like a romp adventure. Whereas here, even though it's still silly, just like you say, the themes, but also like the setting, it just was a bit too. I wouldn't say grim, and dark's not even right, but just something about it. Just the fun wasn't there, was it? The breeziness.
Yeah, and also I felt that I think Glass Onion was probably a bit more on the nose, but with the first with Knives Out, the kind of handling of the subject of immigration and privilege and the way that the cast of characters in this family all worked with each other, it felt to me like quite a precise send up. The sort of influencer Gwyneth Paltrow type character that Toni Collette played felt very kind of funny and accurate to me. So it was like those sorts of things made it fun, but also like sort of prescient. And I didn't really feel any of that with this one. Like I didn't think that I didn't quite know who these characters were. It didn't none of them felt very accurate to me. Like Andrew Scott's character, this writer who was become really obsessed with the religion, with Messenger Jefferson Hitwicks and what he's doing and how he's preaching. I didn't know who that was meant to be. I didn't recognize any of it. And like it did, like none of those characters to me felt really very interesting. I didn't really care about spending time with them. And the other thing was like maybe I was just like not like as switched on with the last two films, but with this I predict from the get-go, from the minute we met the cast of characters who were at that church, I could tell who was going to be the person who was to blame for the murder. Like it felt incredibly predictable to me, which was probably the biggest problem with the whole thing. If you're doing a who's done it, I want to have some surprises, but it was depressingly predictable.
Yeah, right. I mean, I didn't predict it, but then, I just kind of didn't care as it was getting to the denouement. I wanted to get it over with.
Oh God, yeah. So it's a bit of a shame because we wanted to talk about this movie.
Yeah, we're fans of the
we're fans,
franchise.
and we were excited for this new release. But I was very, very disappointed. I have to say, I really hope this is just this, because each of these are standalone movies. I'm sort of hoping that the next one he'll swing a different way again, and maybe that will I'll find more
Do you not
exciting.
think that's the end of it? Do you not think it's 3 and done?
No, I don't think so. I watched an interview with
Oh.
Ryan Johnson where he said something about, in passing, why he loves doing them and could do them
Right.
forever. So I suspect, I mean, I'm guessing from your question, from what you just said, like the contract was just for 2 movies. The deal was just for 2 movies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So his Netflix deal is over.
Oh,
so.
okay. Well, then that gives me some hope. Maybe it will be kind of taken over by a different company, and we can have it back on the big screen, like for a proper run, because I think it deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so.
Okay, well, moving along. Let's talk union renegotiations, James. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe let's keep it brief, or just looking through our notes, that this could get heavy. But yeah, it surprised me when up on my news feeds I started seeing things about how the contracts that the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America, the contracts that they went on strike for to kind of get negotiated, they're ending next year, and so they're coming up for renegotiation like now. So all the things that they were striking for, all the kind of concessions they wanted to make, everything's up for renegotiation. And of course, since the strike, since the renegotiated contracts, the industry has changed. Production is down. I think it's like, depending where you look for the statistics, there's like 30 to 40% less shows and films being made in Hollywood than there were pre-strike, so production is down. So I just don't know how it's going to shake out next time round negotiations.
yes, so the last strike, if you guys recall, was in 2023. So really not that long ago at all. And yeah, it seems like the industry is still recovering from that last strike. The knock-on effect was pretty extreme. The combined strikes, because, if you remember, it was 2 different unions, the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild. The combined strikes cost the industry between 5 billion and 10 billion nationwide. And, we have friends who work in the industry here, and even here, the knock-on effect of all of that strike was felt here as well. So I imagine like the impact on the kind of international industry is, even more than that.
But it is rumoured, I mean, not rumoured, it's like pretty much anticipated that artificial intelligence, again, is going to be the key sticking point, because, the part of the strike and part of the renegotiation was to get kind of guidelines in place to protect jobs of real actors. But artificial intelligence isn't going away, so it's about figuring out a way that's going to make sure that human actors still get paid,
Yeah. The other thing I read was that this is YouTube creators are going to be getting more rights for writers who have moved to kind of podcasting, for example.
Well, this what I heard is basically that the Screen Actors Guild the Writers Guild of America is now going to cover non-normal, what they would not ordinarily cover under that. So writing for YouTube videos is now going to be considered a writing gig under the Writers Guild of America, which it previously wasn't. So there's an admission there that essentially cinema and television media isn't the only way to make money now as a writer. In fact, YouTube is quite a growing area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I hope that the same will be true for SAG, because I don't know if anyone has watched Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kidfluencing, but it's a pretty shocking documentary about young YouTube, one particular YouTube influencer and the group of other child actors around her who were being made to work for not much money at all, because currently there are no rights for influencers, definitely no rights for kid influencers. They're not considered actors. And of course, child actors in Hollywood are pretty well protected and like under these laws, and there's nothing like that. So I really hope that it's not just writers but actors as well across. I don't know how
Yeah.
how feasible it would be to do that, but it's definitely an area where right now there aren't enough rights, not enough protections for people on social media.
Yeah, and I really don't think the industry will be able to survive another strike on the level that we had 3 years ago. I mean, it did have a direct effect on the amount of productions being made, and it's pretty obvious that will happen again.
Yeah, well, okay, well, that was my question, because is it likely that there will be strikes again? Because it seems, because if you look at the numbers around cinema in particular, from up post 2019, crazy drop off, which is, of course, we understand why, because of COVID, but
Mm.
probably a big part of the fact that we haven't really seen recovery. It's not been like a sharp turn up, turn back, or even a gradual turn back. It's kind of slightly plateaued. I imagine is because of the cost of the strikes that really, put everything on the
Mm.
back foot. Do you think that for the members of these unions, it will be worth damaging their industry to go on strike? Look, I'm pro striking in general on principle. I'm pro union,
Yeah,
but
I mean, exactly. It's not that I'm saying unions are bad and you shouldn't do it, but we're just looking at what happened 2 or 3 years ago, and it is weird, because then if you don't go on strike, then you've got no leverage, you've got no negotiating power. But then you can literally look at the example of what happened 2 years ago and the effects it still had. So I think they are in a bit of a bind.
and because of the effect it's had, I imagine studios and the big corporations are going to be even less inclined to give them what they want, because they're like, well, we're not in a good place anyway. We can't afford this because of your
Yeah.
strike last time. So it's kind of it's a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's why we're flagging it up, I think, because I think there'll be interesting things developing. I'm sure nobody wants a strike and everyone wants a resolution, but it's like, can you get there before these contracts expire?
Absolutely. So yeah, watch this space. Yeah, when okay, so the expiring deal targeted for June 2026, according to these notes you put in, James.
Mm.
So guys, look out in June 2026 to see what's going down, or kind of around then. In the meantime, guys, just go to the cinema, please. Let's all support theaters. We've got to help the industry as best we can, and down with Netflix.
Absolutely. There we go. Absolutely down with Netflix.
My
And on
rallying
that note,
cry as we were just like covering one of Netflix's big films of the year.
so anyway, on that note, supporting cinemas, I gather you've got a recommendation for this week's like independent or quirky cinema.
I do. So I wanted to recommend The Odyssey, which is an independent
Mm.
cinema in St Albans, which is where I grew up. So it's a small city just north of London, in case you're not familiar. And I was actually there last weekend for my childhood best friend's wedding, which was so nice to be back in the town I grew up in, because I haven't been there in quite a few years. And when I was showing Leo around a little bit, showing him my old house and that kind of thing, I saw in the distance The Odyssey, which is an independent cinema which opened, I think, when I was 19. So I actually slightly missed it. I think I only went to see one film in it before kind of moving away. But I was really pleased to see it still going strong, because it's a really, really beautiful cinema. The whole
Mm.
time I was growing up, there was closed down cinema, like it had shut, I think, when I was little, and nothing had ever been done with it. So I'd always walk past it on the way to school up into town, and kind of wished it was. I would think, God, it would be amazing if this cinema was open, if there was one on my doorstep. And then they finally did open it. And what's really nice about the cinema is, I don't quite know why, but for some reason they always show films 1 or 2 weeks after the actual release date. They always start
Mm.
showing them from that point on, which I actually think is quite a nice thing, because it means if you miss something when it first comes out, you can check The Odyssey and go there and you'll be able to catch it.
And just looking at it as well, it's got origins dating back to 1908. It's a proper like a picture palace, and it's got like an Art Deco 1930s interior. It looks great.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, it's really, yes, very, very chic, very Art Deco. We love that. And yeah, so if you, I realize it's a slightly niche offering because it's not in one of the UK's biggest cities, but if you happen to be in the area or if you live in Hertfordshire or the kind of around there, I would strongly recommend it. Yeah, over Christmas it's showing It's a Wonderful Life, Elf, Home Alone, Die Hard, all the classics. So, great opportunity if you have some time and you're around there to go see a film in a very chic Art Deco cinema.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Groovy Movies.
Thank you as always. And if you could leave us a 5-star review or like, it all helps get the podcast out to a wider audience.
So we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Groovy Movies is produced and edited by us, Lily Austin and James Brailsford. And James also produced the theme music.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Groovy Movies Pod or email us groovymoviespod@gmail.com.
For more information about the films discussed, check out the show notes.